Welcome to On the Ballot with Ballotpedia, where we take a closer look at the top political stories of the day. Ballotpedia connects people to politics by providing neutral, nonpartisan, and reliable information on our government, how it works, and where it's headed. I'm Victoria Rose, and thanks for being with us. Today, I'm joined by Ballotpedia staff writer Joel Williams to take a quick look at the upcoming Republican primaries for Texas's House of Representatives, which will be the most competitive in over a decade. Joel, thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Excited to get into some elections this year.
Yeah, me too, especially in my home state. Let's jump right into it. How competitive are these primaries?
So the March 5th primaries are going to be the most competitive in the chamber for at least a decade. There's 59 primaries with more than one candidate, and 45 of those have an incumbent in them. So that's somebody running for re-election that faces a challenger. That's 59% of all incumbents who are running for re-election this year, and the last time more than half, so more than 50%, faced a challenger was in 2014.
So how does that compare to how competitive state House Republican races have been in Texas in the past?
Yeah, so in the past 5 election cycles, on average, there were 25 Republican incumbents who faced primary challengers. So that's about 35%. So the number this year is about double that. And then as it compares nationally, we've seen for both parties about 22% of incumbents that run for re-election every year face primary challengers. So this Texas number this year is almost triple that.
Wow. This year's above average number of competitive primaries involving incumbents are taking place against the backdrop of 2 2023 votes that divided the House GOP caucus, one being the impeachment vote of Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton back in May 2023. How's that factoring in, Joel?
Yeah, so the Texas House voted 121-23 to impeach Paxton. And in that vote, you had 61 Democrats and then 60 Republicans voting to impeach him. And Paxton was eventually acquitted on all counts by the state Senate. But then Paxton started endorsing a bunch of challengers to these incumbents. So he's endorsed 19 total challengers to incumbents who voted to impeach him. And then he's also endorsed 3 other Republican incumbents who voted against the impeachment.
The other political backdrop has to do with how Republican caucus split over removing a provision for school vouchers from House Bill 1, which is an education funding bill. The vote removing the provision passed 84-63, with 21 Republicans joining 63 Democrats to remove it. Republican Governor Greg Abbott, who supported the school voucher program, said he would oppose legislators who voted to remove it. So far, he's endorsed all 59 Republican incumbents running for re-election who voted for keeping the school voucher provision in the education bill, and has also endorsed 8 challengers running against candidates who voted to remove the provision. So overall, a greater proportion of candidates who voted against school vouchers and in favor of impeaching Paxton faced primary challenges than candidates who did not. So can you break that down a little bit more for us, Joel?
Yeah, and it's a lot to keep track of. So there were 15 incumbents who voted in favor of the impeachment and then against the voucher program, and all of those have primary challengers. There were 40 incumbents who voted for impeachment, but then also for vouchers, and 65% of those face primary challengers. And then 17 legislators voted for the vouchers and against impeachment, so that's with Paxton and with Abbott, and only 2 of them face challengers.
And finally, what does recent Texas history tell us about how these primaries might play out?
Yeah, so across the past decade, there's been 28 House Republican incumbents who lost re-election bids. And so that's down under like 4 to 5 per election cycle. Most recently, in an election year where we had kind of a caucus split was 2018. And that was when the caucus split into a faction that was supporting Joe Straus, who was Speaker at the time, and one that was opposing him. And 3 incumbents lost primaries that year.
Very fascinating. Well, that's all I have for you, Joel. Thanks for coming on the show and breaking it down for us.
Thanks for having me.
And for our listeners, you can learn more about the Republican primaries for Texas's House of Representatives at the link in our show notes. We'll be back next week with another episode. Make sure you subscribe to On the Ballot wherever you listen to podcasts. I'm Victoria Rose, and thanks for listening.